In today's video, we'll discuss the top 10 countries where Israelis are not welcome. Due to historical conflicts, political alliances, and religious tensions, there are several nations where Israelis face significant hostility or outright bans. These countries have long-standing oppositions to Israeli policies or simply do not recognize Israel's existence. But what are the reasons behind this ongoing animosity? Let's take a closer look at the top 10 countries where Israelis are not only unwelcome but face serious restrictions. Like, subscribe, and watch to the end to learn more about this complex geopolitical situation. Comment below if you think any country should be added to this list. Number 10. Bangladesh. Bangladesh has long maintained an anti-Israel stance due to its support for Palestine and its broader opposition to Israeli policies. As a Muslim-majority nation, Bangladesh has been a staunch advocate for Palestinian independence and the end of Israeli occupation in Palestinian territories. In fact, Bangladesh does not have diplomatic relations with Israel and has strongly criticized Israel's actions in the West Bank and Gaza. Emotionally, the Bangladeshi government views Israel as an oppressive force that has denied the Palestinians their right to self-determination. The Bangladeshi people also view Israel as a symbol of colonial oppression, a sentiment rooted in their own history of fighting against British colonial rule. In 2025, Bangladesh continues to support international sanctions against Israel and is part of the broader Muslim-majority bloc that opposes Israel's actions in the Middle East. Israeli citizens are generally not allowed to travel to Bangladesh, and Israeli passports are not recognized. Number 9. Pakistan. Pakistan's hostility towards Israel is deeply rooted in its solidarity with Palestine and its historical opposition to the Israeli occupation of Palestinian lands. Pakistan has never recognized Israel and is one of the few nuclear powers that maintains a strict policy of not establishing relations with Israel. Since its founding, Pakistan has been an ardent supporter of Palestine and has repeatedly called for Israel's withdrawal from the occupied territories. Emotionally, Pakistan views Israel as an illegitimate state created by Western powers, which it believes forcibly displaced the Palestinian people. The Pakistani government has also been vocal about Israel's nuclear arsenal, which it sees as a threat to regional stability and global peace. In 2025, Pakistan continues to be a major advocate for Palestinian rights and remains a key member of the OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which supports sanctions against Israel. Israelis are not allowed to enter Pakistan, and any Israeli passport holder is barred from visiting the country. Number 8. Malaysia. Malaysia has been a consistent critic of Israel due to its support for Palestine and strong anti-Zionist stance. The Malaysian government has vocalized its opposition to Israeli occupation in Palestine for decades and does not recognize Israel's sovereignty. In 2025, Malaysia's hostility toward Israel remains largely driven by religious solidarity with the Palestinian cause. Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has openly condemned Israel's policies, describing them as oppressive and apartheid-like. The Malaysian government has also banned all Israeli goods, refusing to engage in trade or diplomatic relations with Israel. The anti-Israel sentiment is so deep that Israelis are not allowed to travel to Malaysia, and the Malaysian passport has a clause stating that Israelis cannot hold diplomatic ties with the country. Emotionally, Malaysia's anti-Israel sentiment is largely tied to the belief that Israel's existence and policies are a violation of Palestinian rights and Islamic sovereignty. In 2025, Malaysia continues to support Palestinian statehood in international forums and has repeatedly called for economic sanctions against Israel to end the occupation. Number 7. Iran. Iran has one of the most hostile relationships with Israel, largely due to ideological and religious factors. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has called for the elimination of Israel from the Middle East and has consistently supported anti-Israel militias like Hamas and Hezbollah. In 2025, Iran continues its hardline stance, viewing Israel as an illegitimate state and a tool of Western imperialism in the region. Emotionally, Iran's opposition to Israel is rooted in the Islamic Revolution of 1979, which led to the establishment of the Islamic Republic of Iran. After the revolution, Iran severed diplomatic ties with Israel and supported Palestinian resistance. Iran also sees Israel's nuclear weapons program as a threat to regional stability and has made Israel's destruction a central part of its foreign policy. In 2025, Israelis are not welcome in Iran, and Israeli passports are not recognized. Iran's continued military support for Palestinian groups and its stance against Israeli occupation make any form of reconciliation impossible in the foreseeable future. Number 6. Syria. Syria has been a long-time adversary of Israel, particularly after losing the Golan Heights to Israel during the 1967 Six-Day War. Since then, Syria has been committed to opposing Israel's existence and has supported Palestinian resistance groups and Iran-backed militias like Hezbollah. Syria's stance is deeply ideological and rooted in its territorial claims over the Golan Heights. In 2025, Syria's hostility remains largely because of Israel's occupation of the Golan Heights, which Syria views as an illegitimate act of aggression. The country has been a vocal critic of Israeli policies and continues to align with Iran and Palestinian groups in opposing Israel's actions in Palestine. Syria's relationship with Israel is further complicated by its long-standing ties with Hezbollah, which Iran funds and trains to fight against Israeli forces. Emotionally, Syria views Israel as a colonial power and a bulwark of Western hegemony, particularly in the Middle East. Syrians are taught to view Israel as an enemy, and Israelis are not allowed to enter Syria under any circumstance. Number 5. Lebanon. Lebanon has been hostile to Israel due to its historical experiences with Israeli invasions and its strong ties to Iran-backed Hezbollah. Since the 1980s, Hezbollah has been the primary force in Lebanon's resistance to Israeli occupation, especially in the south of Lebanon. Hezbollah's military operations against Israel have been a cornerstone of Lebanese policy with the support of Iran and Syria. In 2025, Lebanon continues to refuse recognition of Israel, largely due to Hezbollah's ongoing influence in the country. The Israeli-Lebanese border remains tense, with occasional clashes, despite the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon peacekeeping forces' presence. Lebanon's political support for Palestine also keeps its stance firmly opposed to Israeli occupation. Emotionally, Lebanon views Israel as a force of oppression that continues to impose its military and political will on Palestinians and Lebanese territory. The Lebanese people are taught from an early age to oppose Israel and its policies, with education, media, and national narratives deeply aligned with Palestinian solidarity. Lebanon's strong relationship with Iran has ensured that Israelis are not allowed to enter Lebanon and have no diplomatic ties with the country. Number 4. Libya. Libya has been hostile to Israel since the 1967 Six-Day War, when Israel captured East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip. Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi was an outspoken critic of Israel and a strong supporter of Palestinian militant groups. After the 2011 civil war, Libya's opposition to Israel continued under various governments. In 2025, Libya still views Israel as a colonial occupier of Palestinian land and supports Palestinian resistance. Libya is part of the broader Arab world that has historically rejected Israel's legitimacy, and it continues to advocate for the Palestinian cause in international forums. Emotionally, Libyans see Israel as a threat to Arab unity and a symbol of Western imperialism. Libya's backing of Palestinian liberation movements has led to the ongoing boycott of Israeli goods and refusal to recognize Israel diplomatically. Israel's lack of relations with Libya means Israelis are not welcome in the country and Israeli passports are not recognized. Number 3. Sudan. Sudan's animosity toward Israel dates back to the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, when Sudan supported the Arab states in their opposition to Israel's creation. Over the decades, Sudan maintained its position as a vocal critic of Israeli policies, particularly regarding Palestinian rights and Israeli military actions in the Gaza Strip. In 2025, Sudan remains one of Israel's strongest opponents in Africa, despite some attempts at diplomatic engagement in recent years. Sudan's relationship with Israel is deeply tied to its solidarity with Palestinian independence and its long-standing alliance with Iran. Sudan is also opposed to Israeli influence in the region, particularly in North Africa and the Horn of Africa. Emotionally, Sudanese rejection of Israel is tied to its commitment to Arab unity and the fight for Palestinian rights. The Sudanese government continues to align with Iran and other anti-Israel nations, ensuring that Israelis are not welcome in Sudan and Israeli passports are not recognized. Number 2. Yemen. Yemen's hostility toward Israel is deeply rooted in Islamic solidarity and Palestinian support. The Houthi rebels, who control much of the country, are heavily backed by Iran and have long been opponents of Israeli policies in Palestine. The government, which has been in disarray due to civil conflict, also maintains an anti-Israel stance aligned with Iran's ideological position. In 2025, Yemen continues to voice its strong opposition to Israeli occupation in Palestine and its support for Palestinian resistance movements like Hamas. Yemen's government sees Israel as a symbol of Western oppression and imperialism and has supported anti-Israel initiatives in international forums. Emotionally, Yemen's hostility is based on its view of Israel as an illegitimate occupier and an enemy of Islam, particularly because of Israel's policies in Jerusalem and the West Bank. Yemen views Israel's existence as a threat to Muslim sovereignty in the region and maintains its firm stance against Israel's actions. Israelis are not allowed to enter Yemen, and Israeli passports are not recognized. Number 1. North Korea. North Korea's hostility toward Israel is primarily driven by ideological solidarity with Palestine and anti-Western sentiment. North Korea has never recognized Israel, aligning itself with Iran, Syria, and other anti-Israel nations. The regime in Pyongyang views Israel's actions in Palestine as a violation of international law and supports the idea of a free Palestinian state. In 2025, North Korea remains one of the most vocal critics of Israel, describing it as a puppet of the U.S. and an illegitimate colonial entity. North Korea continues to provide political support to Palestinian groups, while also aligning with Iran in their opposition to Israeli policies. Emotionally, North Korea's hatred toward Israel is rooted in its resistance to Western influence and its desire to support Palestinian independence. It views Israel as an extension of U.S. imperialism and sees its presence in the Middle East as a direct threat to Muslim sovereignty. North Korea has continued to support the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement and has prohibited Israelis from entering the country. These countries, driven by ideological differences, historical grievances, and geopolitical interests, remain strongly opposed to Israel in 2025. The Israel-Palestine conflict continues to shape global relations. Like, comment, and subscribe for more insights into international politics. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. See you next time.